Let me start by telling you something that could change your destiny. You don't get in life what you want, you get what you focus on. Desire without focus is like trying to plant seeds on concrete. Wishing for a better life while focusing on everything that's wrong will never bring change. But the moment you shift your focus, truly shift it, your whole life begins to realign with a new outcome. Focus is not just about eyesight, it's about insight. It's about what you give your attention to, what you magnify, what you allow to grow in the garden of your mind. Because here's the truth: what you focus on, you attract every single time. Let's go deep. Let's break this down into life changing principles. Your focus is your seed, and your life is the soil. Every single day, whether you're aware of it or not, you are planting something into the atmosphere of your life. Thoughts are not harmless. Thoughts are not passive. Your focus has power, and whatever you give consistent mental and emotional attention to begins to take root in your reality. It starts as something invisible, internal, even quiet, but over time, what you fix your mind on begins to shape your choices, influence your actions, and ultimately determine your outcomes. You can't plant bitterness and expect joy to grow. You can't sow fear and expect peace to bloom. The soil of your life is incredibly fertile, but it doesn't care what kind of seed you put in it, it will grow whatever you give it. The only thing it's waiting for is your focus. If you focus on what hurt you, you empower it to keep growing. If you focus on what God promised you, you activate the process of that promise becoming reality. Your life right now is the harvest of yesterday's thoughts, and your tomorrow will be the harvest of what you're focusing on today. I remember a woman who came to one of our sessions broken and frustrated. She had been trying for years to grow her business, but couldn't seem to get any traction. She said, "I'm doing everything I can, but nothing is working." So I asked her a simple question: when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing on your mind? Without hesitation, she said, "I worry about whether I'll be able to pay my bills." There it was. Every day, she was watering the seed of lack. Not because she wanted to be poor, but because that's where her focus lived. She was faithful to fear. She nurtured anxiety with daily attention, and it became the harvest she kept reaping. I looked her in the eye and said, "You're not planting faith, you're feeding fear." She broke down. She didn't even realize it. But that was the beginning of her change. She made a shift. She started her mornings differently, not rehearsing the problems, but rehearsing the promises. She focused on what was possible. She gave her energy to creating, not complaining. And slowly, her business began to turn. Not because she suddenly found a magic strategy, but because she changed her seed. That's what happens when you change your focus. You see, your mind is a spiritual garden, and focus is how you choose which seeds to plant. Every time you dwell on lack, resentment, comparison, or regret, you're planting weeds. But every time you focus on growth, gratitude, vision, and discipline, you're planting a future. The harvest may not come overnight, but it will come, because that's the law of sowing and reaping. So if you want to change your life, stop trying to force the fruit. Start changing the seed. Start with your focus, because that's where everything begins. Energy flows where attention goes. It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a spiritual principle, a divine law. Whatever you consistently give your attention to will begin to shape the direction of your energy, your creativity, your time, and even your relationships. Focus is the channel that your life force runs through. When you lock your attention on something long enough, everything else in your life begins to organize itself around that focus. Your mind starts looking for patterns, your decisions start reflecting it, and your emotions begin fueling it. That's why where your attention goes, your energy naturally follows. Focus isn't just mental, it's magnetic. When your attention is scattered, your energy is drained. That's why you can feel exhausted at the end of the day without even doing anything physically demanding. It's not always your body that's tired, it's your focus that's fractured. You've been worrying about bills, wondering about your future, checking everyone else's life on social media and doubting your own. That kind of mental clutter spreads your energy thin. But when your attention is sharp, your energy becomes powerful. When you give focused attention to your purpose, your energy multiplies. Let me share a simple but powerful example. There was a young man trying to grow his online business. He was passionate, talented, and had great ideas, but nothing was working. One day, I asked him to walk me through his daily routine. He said, I start the morning excited, but after checking my phone, I usually see a bunch of things I feel behind on. Then I answer some DMs, scroll a little, and before I know it, hours are gone. I try to work, but I keep bouncing between tasks and end up feeling like I got nothing done. Right there was the problem. His attention was scattered across distractions. And because his focus was broken, so was his energy. He had the ability, but it wasn't being harnessed, it was being drained. I told him something that stopped him in his tracks. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're giving energy to things that don't matter. That moment lit something inside him. He stopped trying to do everything and started doing the right things with focused intensity. No more multitasking, no more mindless scrolling. He created space to focus deeply. Within weeks, his content improved, his sales picked up, and his confidence started rising. Why? Because his energy finally had direction. His focus became his fuel. You see, it's not always about adding more effort. Sometimes it's about subtracting distractions. When your focus sharpens, your energy amplifies. When your attention aligns with your assignment, you stop wasting power and start walking in purpose. Don't let your energy leak into things that aren't connected to your calling. Don't spend another day giving your best attention to things that don't build you, grow you, or align with what you're believing for. Guard your attention, because where your attention goes, your entire life follows. If you want to know where someone's focus is, listen to their words. Words are not just sounds, they are signals. They reveal what's happening inside your heart, what you meditate on in your mind, and what you consistently focus on, whether you realize it or not. The mouth doesn't just speak thoughts, it speaks focus. You can dress it up, smile, and pretend everything's fine, but your language will always expose what you're dwelling on deep down. Words carry weight, they carry energy, and more importantly, they carry direction. When you speak, you don't just describe your life, you begin to design it. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and that power flows from focus. That's why someone can have all the potential in the world, but if their words are rooted in fear, doubt, and limitation, they will keep attracting experiences that match their confession. You cannot speak defeat and live in victory. You cannot talk lack and walk in abundance. Your mouth sets your mind's GPS. It points your energy toward what you believe is possible or what you're afraid will happen. Let me share an example that still sticks with me. I met a man who had a dream of starting a nonprofit organization. He had the heart, he had the vision, and he had the network to do it. But every time we talked, he would say things like, I'm not sure people will support it. Or, with my background, I'm probably not the right person to lead something like this. Or, I just don't want to fail. He wasn't aware of it, but his words were focused on fear. And because his focus was there, his energy followed. He took small, hesitant steps. He self-sabotaged without knowing it. And the opportunities he needed kept slipping through his fingers. I finally stopped him and said, you've already built something. You've built a reality around what you don't want. And your words are keeping you there. It hit him hard. He got quiet. He realized he had been rehearsing failure more than he'd been envisioning success. And so he made a shift, not just in strategy, but in speech. He started declaring what was possible. He started saying, I'm called to lead this. The right people are being drawn to this vision. I may not have all the answers, but I'm showing up anyway. His words changed and his world followed. This is how powerful your focus is. It shapes your language, and your language shapes your life. When you speak consistently about what's wrong, what you fear, or what you lack, you attract more of it. But when your words align with faith, purpose, and vision, you start to attract people, ideas, and opportunities that match that frequency. So ask yourself, what have you been speaking over your life, over your dreams, over your family? Your words are mirrors of your focus. If you want to change your direction, don't just change your actions, change your conversation. Speak from a place of vision, not from a place of fear, because what you speak, you invite. And what you focus on, you attract. What you focus on, you empower. Your attention is not neutral, it's active. It gives permission, it gives strength. Every time you fix your thoughts on something, you're feeding it. Whether it's good or bad, helpful or harmful, when you focus on it, you hand it power. That's why it's so important to be intentional with your mental energy, because what you dwell on doesn't just stay in your mind, it starts to shape your identity, your emotions, and your choices. Focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you aim it at begins to look bigger, feel more important, and carry more influence over your life. If you keep focusing on what went wrong, the pain grows. If you keep replaying that betrayal, the bitterness grows. But if you shift that same focus onto healing, forgiveness, growth, and possibility, those things grow instead. It's not that the pain disappears overnight, it's that your power begins to return to the right place. You stop feeding what hurts you and you start feeding what can heal you. There was a young woman I once spoke with who had gone through a devastating breakup. It shattered her confidence, made her question her worth, and left her emotionally exhausted. Months had passed, but she was still stuck replaying every conversation, overanalyzing every mistake, scrolling through old pictures, watching from a distance as her ex moved on. She didn't realize it, but her focus had made that pain her home. It had become a prison, and every day she revisited it, she gave it more control. I asked her one simple question: what are you feeding? She was quiet for a moment. Tears welled up in her eyes. I'm feeding my wounds, she whispered. That was the turning point. She began to shift her focus slowly, intentionally. She started reading books that reminded her of her worth. She surrounded herself with people who spoke life, not pity. She deleted the reminders, stopped stalking the past, and started speaking new declarations over her life. Within a few months, her energy changed. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was building something new. Why? Because she stopped empowering the pain and started empowering her healing. You see, we all have moments where pain knocks at our door. We all face things we didn't ask for: betrayals, delays, disappointments. But we get to choose what we empower. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can absolutely control what you magnify. You can shift your focus, you can redirect your attention, and in doing so, you take your power back. Don't empower the fear. Don't empower the voice that says you're not enough. Don't empower the trauma. Start empowering your vision, empower your discipline, empower your healing, your purpose, your identity in God. Because the more you focus on the right things, the stronger they become in your life. And that strength will carry you into the future you were born for. Listen to me. If your life doesn't look like what you desire, check your focus. You were created to attract greatness, but your focus determines the frequency you're operating on. When you tune your mind to purpose, when you lock your heart on faith, when you discipline your attention, you step into alignment with your assignment. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's law. What you focus on, you attract. So stop looking at the pain, stop feeding the fear, Stop magnifying the mess and start fixing your focus on the promise. Focus on where you're going. Focus on who you're becoming. Focus on what you've been called to do, because everything you're looking for is already drawn to the version of you that's focused. Your job, become that version through focus and watch your life change, because what you focus on, you attract.